All right, so get this. Today we're going deep, like really deep, into how matter, like the stuff that makes up everything, moves through ecosystems.
Think about it. Everything, the air, those mountains over there, it's all matter. And it's not just sitting there, it's on this crazy, never-ending journey.
And you've given us like a ton of slides on this, carbon, nitrogen, water, all these cycles. It seems like we're going to crack the code of life itself, or at least how it keeps going.
Exactly. We'll see how it all connects, how these cycles depend on each other. But most importantly, we'll figure out why you should actually care about all this.
Yeah, because knowing's only half the battle, right? So it's like we're revealing this hidden dance of like elements, almost like a giant invisible game of Tetris.
I like that. And the blocks are, like you said, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, all the building blocks of life. But what happens if you stack those blocks wrong?
Game over,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
I'm guessing that's where this balance thing comes in, which I see mentioned a lot in the slides.
Bingo. Balance is key. And the slides highlight two major players in this game: the water cycle, and then all these nutrient cycles.
Okay, so water and then the nutrients like carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Those are the heavy hitters.
You got it. And these cycles aren't just some like science-y thing happening somewhere out there. They're literally the reason you're breathing and eating right now, even thinking.
All right, now you've got me hooked. So spill the beans. How does all this affect my daily life?
Well, imagine no clean air to breathe, no soil to grow food, no fresh water. That's what it'd be like without these cycles constantly moving and changing matter.
Yikes. Sounds like my compost pile if I let it go for too long.
Exactly. It would be like a planet-sized compost pile that never breaks down, just piles up forever.
Okay, definitely not a good look. So water cycle, nutrient cycles, got it. Let's pick one to start with. Maybe carbon. It's all over the news these days, carbon footprints and all that jazz.
For good reason. Carbon's always being released naturally. Volcanoes erupting, leaves decomposing. But then there's us, humans, burning fossil fuels like there's no tomorrow.
So we're like messing with the carbon cycle's natural rhythm.
Exactly. We're pumping out way more carbon than nature can handle. And all that extra carbon, it's got to go somewhere.
Right, it can't just disappear. So where does it end up? The slides mention the ocean being involved.
The ocean's like a giant sponge. It absorbs a lot of that excess carbon, which, sounds good, right?
Yeah, like it's doing us a favor, cleaning up our mess.
True, but up to a point. Too much carbon dioxide in the ocean causes acidification. Bad news for marine life and ultimately for us.
Oh, right, back to that balance thing. So too much carbon in the air is bad,
Yeah.
too much in the ocean is bad. So where else does it go? The slides mention plants.
Plants, they're the MVPs here. They're like these little carbon-sucking machines pulling carbon dioxide right out of the air.
During photosynthesis, right.
Hmm.
That's where they use sunlight to make food.
You know it. Sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, and boom energy in the form of sugar. And as a bonus, they release the oxygen we breathe.
It's like nature's own air purifier. Pretty amazing when you think about it. But wait, don't all living things release carbon dioxide too? How does that fit in?
Well, that's where cellular respiration comes in. It's basically photosynthesis in reverse. Animals, and plants too, use glucose and oxygen to make energy, but they release carbon dioxide and water as byproducts.
So it's a two-way street. Plants take in carbon dioxide, release oxygen, and we do the opposite. A beautiful, interconnected dance.
Exactly. And speaking of essential ingredients, let's move on to nitrogen.
Okay, nitrogen, that's what, like 78% of the atmosphere? Seems like there's plenty to go around.
Oh, there is tons of it. But here's the catch. Plants can't use nitrogen gas directly, even though they're swimming in it. They need it in a different form. And for that, they need some help from, well, some tiny friends.
Tiny friends, you mean like bacteria?
Bacteria, yeah. They're the unsung heroes of this whole nitrogen cycle thing. They can actually change nitrogen gas into something plants can use.
Like magic?
Not magic, science. But it's pretty amazing. They do this thing called nitrogen fixation and nitrification.
So they're like, what, personal chefs for the plant world, whipping up nitrogen in a form they can digest.
Perfect analogy. They're unlocking the nitrogen from the air, making it available for plants to soak it up through their roots.
So we eat the plants, or we eat something that ate the plants, and bam, we got our nitrogen. It's like a relay race, from the air to bacteria to plants to us.
Nailed it. And just like with carbon, we humans can mess this up too. Like using too much fertilizer. It washes away and causes those algal blooms that muck up the water.
So even just buying groceries, I could be impacting the nitrogen cycle? Wild.
You bet. Supporting sustainable farms, organic stuff, cutting down on food waste, that all helps keep things in check.
Okay, food for thought, literally. So, Carbon, nitrogen, we're on a roll. What about water? That cycle seems pretty straightforward. Evaporation, rain, repeat.
It's simple on the surface, but man, it's beautiful. Powered by the sun, you know. Water evaporates, rises up, forms clouds.
And then, boom, rain, or snow, or hail, depending on your location. Refills the water supply, and the whole thing starts again.
Earth's lifeline, constantly on the move. But again, we humans, we can mess with the balance. Pollution, chopping down forests, even using too much water ourselves.
So every drop I save, every time I don't litter, it actually matters on that grand scale.
It adds up, for sure. Now, another nutrient we got to talk about, phosphorus. Might not be as famous as carbon, but it's a VIP for plants and for our DNA and stuff.
The slides mentioned it comes from rocks. How does that even work?
Yeah, phosphorus is different. No big atmospheric component like the others. It's mostly chilling in rocks and soil.
So, like, rocks break down slowly, releasing phosphorus bit by bit, and that feeds the plants, like a slow-release fertilizer.
You got it. But of course, humans can mess this one up too. Mining phosphorus for fertilizer, that runoff we talked about, it can throw things off.
Sensing a theme here. Balance is key. It's all connected. Mess with one part, the whole system feels it.
That's the big picture, yep. And that brings us to, remember those diagrams with all the arrows showing who eats who?
Oh yeah, food webs, right? Always look super complicated to me.
They are, but they show how these cycles play out in the real world. Like, a grasshopper eats grass, a bird eats the grasshopper. Simple version is a food chain.
One line, energy flowing along. But I'm guessing real life's not that neat and tidy.
You're catching on. Real ecosystems are way messier, more connections. That's where food webs come in, showing all the different food chains overlapping.
More like a, I don't know, a tangled web.
Yeah.
With connections going everywhere.
Exactly. And just like with those individual cycles, you mess with one part of the web, the whole thing can feel it. Imagine like a key species disappearing.
Like if the top predator suddenly vanished,
Yeah.
it'd be chaos.
Total ripple effect, yeah.
Oh.
That's why understanding these connections, it's not just about science, it's about making smart choices for the planet.
So we've covered a lot. These cycles that keep things going, the roles different creatures play, and how we humans can throw a wrench in the works.
Quite a journey, yeah.
It really is. And it's like seeing the world differently now.
Yeah.
Everything's connected. Even little things I do can impact these huge systems.
That awareness is powerful, you know? It can help us make better choices, be better caretakers of this planet.
So, like, what does all this mean for our listener?
Yeah.
The person out there listening right now, how can they connect this to their life? I got to admit, it's a little overwhelming. These massive cycles, everything connected. It's like, how can I, as one person, even make a dent?
Yeah, get it. The scale is huge, right? But
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to understand it personally, you know? Because it's
Yeah.
the little everyday choices that actually add up.
So you're saying, like, what I eat for lunch or how I get to work, those things affect these big cycles.
Totally. Every choice has a consequence, good or bad. Think about, like, eating more plant-based meals. Less meat means less impact on carbon and nitrogen.
Right, because meat production uses a ton of resources, land, water, and releases those greenhouse gases.
Exactly. And, you know, supporting local farmers, the ones doing sustainable stuff, that makes a difference too. Healthy soil, less runoff, it all matters.
Okay, so mindful eating, shopping smart, got it. What else can we do?
Transportation's a biggie. Walking, biking, taking the bus instead of always driving solo, that cuts down on your carbon footprint big time.
If you got to drive fuel-efficient car, maybe even electric,
You got it. And don't underestimate the everyday stuff. Reducing waste, saving water, it all adds up.
like composting instead of trashing food scraps, right?
Yep. Keeps those methane emissions down. And water, man, every drop counts. Shorter showers, fixing leaks, even what plants you choose for your garden.
It's clicking now. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aware and then making those small changes that, become habits.
That's the shift, yeah. From just consuming to actually caring for the planet. We have the power to make things better one step at a time.
It's a good feeling,
Yeah.
not just watching it all happen, but actually being a part of the solution.
That's what I hope people take away from this. These cycles, these systems, they're not some far-off thing. They're the basis of life, and we're part of it. Our actions matter.
So as we go about our day, let's remember we're part of something bigger. Let's make good choices, appreciate how it's all connected, and take care of this amazing planet.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of matter cycles.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep making a difference.